right, so ladies and gentlemen, we're going to dive into chapter 7 too. We're multiplying powers with the same base. Okay, so that's our goal for today. And let's get started. It says we can use a property of exponents to multiply powers with the same base. For example, how can we evaluate 2 cubed times 2 to the 4th? Okay, so they want to know, how can you do that? Well, if I expand this out, look at this 2 cubed. That's 2 times 2 times 2, right? And if I look at the other guy, 2 to the 4th, that's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. OMG. Well, how many 2's do you see? There's 7 of them. So I could write this as 2 to the 7th, right? There's 3 blue ones and there's 4 green ones. Well, if I take a look at where I started, I have 2 cubed times 2 to the 4th. What's a little trick that I can do when the bases are the same? What do I do with the exponents? Yeah, we're going to add those exponents. Very good. So anytime your bases are the same and we're dealing with multiplication, we add exponents. And this is the reason why. Okay? So rules for multiplying powers with the same base for any non-zero a and integers m and m. So if I have a to the m, let me roll it down here so you can see it. So if I have a to the m times a to the n, that simplifies to a to the m plus n. We just add those exponents. You guys good with that? And that only works if the bases are the same. Colton.
Would you do that for like something like three times?
Yeah, let's take a look at it. Okay, so we'll work through these examples one at a time. So as I take a look, number 1, I got 8 to the 5th times 8 cubed, right? Well, that's 8 to what power? 8. How'd you do that? Yeah, take those exponents and add them, and I get 8 to the 8th. Now, we do want you to simplify that. So this is where I would take out my trusty calculator, right? And I would go ahead and plug in 8 to the 8th. All right, so let me see if I can't get my phone showing up here. All right, let me turn my brightness down, see if that helps. Can we see that all right now? So I have 8 raised to the 8th power. Oh, holy cow, look at that number. 8 to the 8th, I get a big old number. I'll have to write that out here. 1, 6, 7, 7, 7, 2, 1, 6. So is that 16,777,216, something like that? OMG, big old number. Okay. By the way, this might be the first time you've seen this. If you have an Android phone, if you didn't know, there is a little app called Wabbit Emu. So good old Wabbit. It's like you're saying rabbit, but you're Elmer Fudd. So you Wesley Wabbit you. Wabbit Emu if you have an Android phone. Unfortunately, iPhones, there is no TI-84 emulator, but it's TI-84 emulator Wabbit Emu. Yeah. All right. Good stuff. You Wesley Wabbit. Why is it rabbit or wabbit? I don't know. All right, good stuff. Here we go. So we take a look at number 2. All those bases have a 2. Go ahead and add those guys up. It's 3 plus 2 plus 1 plus 0. How much is that? 6, right? Add that up. And 2 to the 6 is how much? 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. 8 times 8, 64. There we go. All right, so now the question is on number 3, right? My bases are -3's. Well, what do I do with my exponents? We add these guys up. So I take 5 and I add it to -5. Well, it's 5 minus 5. Or what's 5 plus the -5? 0. And anything raised to the 0 power is 1. Boom. So we should get it equal to 1. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Any questions, guys? All right, so now let's do some more examples. Now we look at where the bases are variables. Okay, so on the next one, I've got a squared and a cubed. If you need to, write them out. Quiz or test, you're like freaking out, like, I don't remember what to do. Do I add them? Do I subtract them? If I write out a squared, that's a and a. If I write out a cubed, that's a. Well, I have 5 a's. I add them. Okay, so sometimes quizzes and tests, you start freaking out because there's a bunch of rules we're going to learn. Well, just write them out. It's not too bad. All right, what do we get on the next one? We get 5c to the 7c cubed. That's 5c to the 10, yeah. Just add those exponents, 7 plus 3. All right, next. We start dealing with these coefficients, okay? We start dealing with this 2/3, what we call a coefficient. By definition, coefficient is the number in front of x, okay? So coefficients, I highlighted these two guys. These guys work together, all right? So I have 2/3 and then times 6. So if you need to go off to the side or use your calculator, what's 2/3 times 6? Okay, yeah, that's 4. 6 and 3 reduce to 2, and then 2 times 2 is 4. So those coefficients, you do multiply those. It's exponents that you add, okay? So now I've got x to the first. If there's not an exponent there, I'm going to put a little 1 there so I remember. And then I have x squared. Well, what's x to the first times x squared? Add those exponents. What's 1 plus 2? 3. And the other guy's just y cubed. Okay? So, again, coefficients work together. You actually multiply those. This reads 2/3 x times 6x squared y cubed. So 2/3 times 6 is 4. And then variables with the same bases, you add them. So x to the first, x squared turns into x cubed, and then there is no y over here, so it just stays y cubed. No.
Does every number by default, like when not previously stated, have an exponent of 1?
Yes, if you don't see, so like 2/3, there's no exponent, you know there's a 1 there. So if there's no exponent listed, then you can assume it's a 1. Okay, so good question. Don't assume it's a 0, because like 2/3 to the 0 power is 1, so that's not right, but 2/3 to the first is 2/3. It's just not needed to write, so that's good.
So
good question.
Like, number 3 on the top, we could have done like 3 1 times 3 2. That could have just been 3 3, and we get this 27.
3, right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's looking back at the warm up where we did 3, and then we brought this guy up. Yes. So now we can add those guys together, and we get 3 cubed, which is 27. Perfect. Good. Good job on seeing that. Okay. Good stuff. All right, let's take a look at number 7. Again, I got some coefficients. One of the biggest mistakes is people will try to add those, okay? Coefficients are not exponents. We add exponents, but with these guys, with the coefficients, we multiply them. Because this reads 7a to the -1st times -3a to the 5th. When you have parentheses next to each other, that refers to multiplication. So go ahead and multiply 7 times -3. What do y'all get? -21. And now we got to take a to the -1st times a to the 5th. Go ahead and add those exponents. What's -1 plus 5? That's +4. The final answer. Okay. Easy peasy. Not too hard. So again, we're adding exponents. If we have coefficients, we multiply. All right, backside. Gets harder, right? That's what we do in math. We show you some easy stuff, and then it gets harder. And then people get upset, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out. That's what math does. Okay? So as I take a look, you guys see this all right? Super bright. I'm going to zoom in here so we can see them a little bigger. These exponents make it so small. Okay? So Noah said if I see an x value and there's no number, what is it up there? Let's assume it's a 1, right? So now I add up all these exponents. 4 plus 1 plus 5 is how much? That's 10, x to the 10th. Boom. Right? O and G, look at these x's. Sometimes there's so many x's you might want to circle them. So I got x cubed times x to the negative second. Okay, and again, that x there in the middle is a 1. So add them up. What's 3 plus 1 plus the negative 2? So I'll even write those out for notes here. So 3 plus 1 is 4, and then plus the negative 2 is 2. You get x squared. You guys okay with that? So let's do the y's. I'll circle the y's here in green. I got a y to the negative first. I got a y, so y to the first, and then y squared. So I've got negative 1 plus 2. Well, what is that? What's negative 1 plus 1? Negative 1 plus 1 is 0, and then plus 2 is just 2. So I end up with x squared, y squared. All right, we take a look at number 10, working our way across. I got some coefficients. What do I do with those guys? Multiply those guys, those dirty dogs. They try to trick you with these coefficients. Don't let them trick you. 2 times negative 3 is how much? Negative 6. Now I have a's. I got a cubed and a to the first. You don't see a number there, put a little 1 there to help you out. Rylan, what do you get there? A to the what? What is it? A to the 4th. Yeah, perfect. And then b's. B's, what do we get, Griff? B squared, b to the second, b to the third. There you go. Perfect. And the last one in this group, now they try to make it even tougher, right? So now they have the bases are all 3's. That's 3 to the n power times 3 to the n plus 2 times 3 to the first. A little 1 up there. Well, now they're just making sure you understand with the bases being the same, what do we do with those exponents? What do you do with those guys? How do we get b to the 5th? Griff, what'd you do? You add them, right? So even if there's n's up there, it's okay. We just add them. So this is 3 to the n plus 2, and then plus 1 power. And then we simplify. What's n plus n? Just add your like terms together. 2n. And what's 2 plus 1? 3. And that's all you can do. We just simplify that. So now I have 3 to the 2n plus 3 power. Good stuff. Yes, sir.
Do you not multiply the coefficients, or is that already taken care of?
The 3's, you mean?
Yeah.
So that's a good question. When they're so you only multiply the coefficients if they're Let's say if they're different, but when they are different, you're going to be multiplying them. If they're the same, if this was like 2 and 2, that'd be 2 times 2 or 2 squared. But then we want to simplify. Okay. So 3, 3, 3, we simplify those because those guys have exponents. Or these guys didn't have exponents to worry about. So it's a good question. Okay. All right. 2 more I want to show you, and then we'll do the odds for the triads. If you do all of them, great. Let's take a look. So now you're kind of working backwards for number 12 and 13. So number 12, we got 3 to the negative 5th times 3 to the I don't know. And we want that to be 10. Okay? Well, one way to do it is what plus negative 5 will give you 10? Well, 15. Okay? One way to do this algebraically is to think of this as an x. Okay? And then you're just adding exponents. So you're like, you got 3 to the negative 5 plus x power is equal to 3 to the 10th. Well, if I set these two equal to each other, negative 5 plus x is equal to 10. Add that 5 over, and we get x is 15. Now, if you know what you're doing, and you knew right away the answer was 15, you don't need to do the algebra part. Okay, most of you guys are pretty smart, you don't have to do it, but that's the idea in terms of algebra. Bless you. All right, let's look at this one. Number 13, we got to find that missing box here. I got 8 cubed times 8 to the negative 5th. What do you guys get? 8 to the negative 2nd. So there we go. Negative 2 is our answer. Okay. If you want to put an x up there, that would be 3 minus 5 is equal to x. So x equals negative 2. You're looking at it like that in terms of algebra. Okay. All right, guys, why don't you try 1 through 9 odd. We'll just do the odds for today. All right, what'd you guys get for number 1? What do we get? Andres, you get this one?
36.
36. How'd you get that?
I did the exponents.
All right, so 1 plus 2 is what?
3.
3. So we get 6 to the 3rd.
Yeah.
And 6 times 6 times 6 is 36 times 6, which is what? Is that 216? Something like that? So you're kind of right. The process is right. You just got to make sure you put that in your calc. Now, again, I'm a guy who assumes things sometimes, and you shouldn't. So let's make sure we're clear. Some of you guys have these fancy calculators. You want to make sure you know how to use them. If I'm doing 6 cubed, this is 6, and then to do like powers, on this row you have addition, subtraction, multiplication. So looking over here, you have addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. There's a raise to button right there. So 6 raised to the 3rd and press enter. So that's 6 cubed is 216. Okay. So on the fancy calculator, that little arrow pointing up, that means raised to a power. Okay. All right, good stuff. All right, let's take a look at number 3. Let's take a look at number 3. Number 3. Who's got it? Lauren, are you talking? Or am I talking? Maybe I'm the one talking. No, did you get this one, bud? Number 3?
Yeah. Got A5, B5.
There we go. A to the 5th, B to the 5th. Perfect. 3 plus 2 is 5 for A. 1, there's a 1 there. 1 plus 4 is 5. All right, we take a look at the next one. Number 5, add them up. 1 plus 4 plus 2, what is that, 7? Boom. You got two more. 7. Multiply these guys. Morgan, did you get that one?
Negative 40, so h raised to the negative first.
All right, so h cubed, h to the negative 4, that adds up to negative 1. Quiz or test, make sure you have no negative exponents. So Morgan, what can we do with that negative, that h to the negative 1 power?
You have to send it down.
Send it downtown. So send that guy down. I don't think we've seen one like that, so that's good that we talk about that. So go ahead and move h down, so your final answer should be negative 40 over h. Final answer. And last but not least, what goes in the box? What's in the box? Negative 11. There we go.